unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, rock stars of the Kick-Ass Nation? It is I, Christopher Rausch, back here for another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show, and I'm excited to have you guys here with us. I am also known as the No Excuses Coach, and on this show, what we do is we help you become kick-ass unstoppable. We help you remove your excuses, your tolerations, in favor of getting results, right? We think about it this way. On this show, I teach you how to keep your promises to yourself so that ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't have any regrets. And life is very, very, very short. So I want you to take into consideration the stuff that we're going to be talking about here tonight, how it applies to your life. And then do yourself a big, big favor and write some notes down. Write down some action items of what it is that you can take from this conversation and be able to implement in your life. That's the whole design and structure of the show. We've been going nearly 6 years. And you think about it this way. You show up to class, if you will, every single week here at the Raw and Unscripted show, and you take 3 action items from this conversation and you apply those in your life over the next 7 days. Perpetually, that compound interest for the action that you take starts to build upon itself, and your confidence starts to build, and your fears start to lessen, and your worries start to lessen, and your anxiety starts to drop, and your actions start to multiply, and then you start to feel better and you start to do better, and that all of that feeds upon itself. And I know that from personal experience because I was a kid that was a homeless 7th grade dropout. Lived in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs, various psychological disorders with my mother. I tried to kill myself twice. Fortunately, I sucked at it, and I got to a point where I thought, I'm going to get out of this situation either in a cop car, in a pine box, or I'm going to take responsibility for my life. And because I chose that third one, I was able to get back into school. I was able to spend 12 years in college and ultimately graduate with my master's degree. The same year I bought my first house. I've had a very, very successful corporate life. I've had a very successful personal development coaching life and a professional speaking life, and now a podcast life. And that is all about taking that imperfect action every single day, whether you feel like it or not, whether you know what to do or not, whether you have the resources or not. You just keep going and you keep going. You keep going, you don't stop, you don't give up. And that's what we talk about here. So you take 3 action items for every single show and you put those into your life, and your life will change. The people around you will change, your everything about your life will change. And then what you get to start to do is you start to get to really live your authentic life, and you start to help people, and then we all together make this world a better place. How does that sound for you? Does that sound appealing? Does that sound plausible? Does that sound like a way to create a legacy that you're going to be proud of? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you think about it, how do I want to be remembered? Who do I want to be remembered for? And then every single day you wake up with that specific intention to say, hey, today I'm going to fight for what's right and what's fair. Today I'm going to risk for which that matters. Today I'm going to be a great dad. I'm going to be a great husband. I'm going to be a great teacher. I'm going to be whatever it is that you do in your life, so that if today is your last day, you can be remembered for being that person and not being the person who's bitching and pissing and moaning and wondering and waiting and worrying and hoping and wishing and praying and playing the someday game with your life. You don't want people to show up at your funeral and go, man, Chris had so much opportunity. He had so much potential, but he just sat there and he just was like, I don't know what to do. I'm such a victim. I don't know. Don't be that person. And I promise you, you may have been that person for a long time, but as you slowly, progressively take that imperfect action, your life will change. And speaking of which, life changing, my book, It's Just You and Me Kid.com. It's Just You and Me Kid.com. I put the link up on the screen. If you go to itsjustyouandmekid.com, you will find a link to my book. I am happy and proud to finally say that it will be coming out in 2025. And I know for a lot of people who are longtime listeners, I've been talking about this book and I've been saying it was going to come out last year and I thought it was going to come out this year. But things happen in their own time. And sometimes we get frustrated because our expectation is it's going to be done and this is what's going to happen. It's going to sell tons of books. And I'm going to be on talk shows and I'm going to be on a professional speaking circuit, whatever it might be. But God, source, universe, whatever it is that you believe in, has things in their mind of when the timing is right. And so I've gone through 2 editors. I'm on my 3rd editor. but she just finished the manuscript and sent it to me. So now I get to go through it and approve those changes. And then we get to the promotion and the publishing of the book. So if you go to itsjustyouandmekid.com, you guys can see an excerpt of what the book is about. You guys can put your name and your email on there and help me make it a bestseller. And in exchange for doing that, I'm giving a bunch of freebies away, which you guys can go check out on the website. And I promise you it's massive value. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff with the book so that you can kind of see the inside peek of writing a memoir, of some of the stories that I couldn't include, which are pretty pivotal. But because the book couldn't be, like that big, we had to cut some of those things out. So it's a great opportunity for you to get behind the scenes. And I'm living proof that no matter where you are, no matter what you've been through, if you want to be successful, if you want to live an authentic life, if you want to go to bed at night feeling proud and happy with the things that you've accomplished, you will be reading this book. So it's just youandmekid.com. Make sure you go click on the link. And then when stuff starts happening, you'll get some emails and you'll know what it is, but you promise you won't get spammed or anything else like that, because that's not how I roll. And so tonight's conversation. Oh, one more thing before we go into tonight's conversation. I just want to let you guys know that in 2025, this is actually right now, as of the taping this broadcast, this will be the last show of 2024. So I'm honored to have this guest on here that I'm going to be introducing here in a second. But in 2025, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently with the podcast. And I would love your feedback, your input. info@noexcusescoach.com is the email. Send me what it is that you would like to see on the show. Would you like the shows shorter? Would you like the shows longer? Would you like me to talk faster? Would you like me to have more guests, less guests? Would you like me to do coaching of people live on the air? Would you like me to do some more training? What do you want? What do you expect out of this show? Because I can custom cater that to your liking and make it advantageous for everybody. Right now we do them about 45 minutes, under an hour. We have a guest on for the most part. Once a month, I do a solo show, and that's kind of been the formula. But I would love to hear your feedback, because I'm interested in switching things up and seeing maybe if we do a little bit shorter, we can grow the podcast, or some people have asked for longer format content. And so whatever it is that you would like, send us an email, info@noexcusescoach.com, or you can reach out to me on social media if you're connected with me there, and let me know what it is that you want to see, because we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. It's always good to change things up and see what works and kind of, just play around with stuff. So we're going to do that. So thank you for allowing me that opportunity. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of a trigger warning on this particular show tonight. We're going to be talking about some deep stuff. We're going to be talking about addiction. We're going to be talking about suicide. We're going to be talking about really getting deep with our thoughts and honest reflection about the things we've been through, and some of the things and the ways that we speak to ourselves, and some of the actions that we take, and how it might impact other people. So this is going to be a very deep conversation. So I encourage you to go into it with that. If you feel like it might be anything that's triggering for you, feel free to not listen to the rest of this episode, but we're going to do it in such an empathetic way that the ultimate goal is, no matter what you're struggling with or dealing with or have dealt with, that on the other side of this conversation, you can see things from your perspective just a little bit differently. And that's what this whole show is about, is just being able to shift our perspective a little bit to say, hey, maybe I could see that from a different viewpoint. And the big viewpoint is, can I see it from not being a victim? Can I see it from being a victor? Can I see it from life happening for me, not life happening to me? And those are some of the biggest shifts that people experience in coaching with me and listening to the show, is like, wow, Chris, I didn't realize this was all happening on purpose for me, and that everything that has happened in my life and everything that is happening in my life is preparing me for what's next. So you take that alone from the show, and I promise you, when you start applying that in your life, things will change. So please help me welcome, from all the way from bloody old England, Mr. Adam Duval. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the Raw Unscripted show once again. I think this is your second or third time on the show.
Second, actually.
Second time. Didn't we do a roundtable with you also? Or was that time?
I don't think we did, no.
I've done the roundtables on your show, of course.
Of course, yeah. And that's what I recommend for this show, doing panel discussions.
Yeah, I've done a few of those. They work. Yeah, I just did one a couple of weeks ago. I had two of my buddies on, and we talked about life and some deep thoughts about life and death.
There you go. Yeah, well, good to be here.
Good. Thank you for being here. I know your schedule is crazily insane. You're going to university, yes. So thank you for carving out the time. My first question for you tonight, as it always usually is what do you want most to get across to the people listening and watching tonight?
Change. Get people to change their mindset. Because
in what way? Because that's a pretty broad general thing. What's the deeper meaning? What do you want them to change specifically?
What's the deeper meaning? We go through shit. Of course we do. We can't change what happened. Can't even change what happened 5 minutes ago. But what we can do is get that power, which we're all strong. We all have that control over our mindset, in shifting and making it positive again, because we have that control over the response.
I love that. And I totally agree with you because I mean, you and I have both been in very, very interesting experiences, shall we say. And in those particular moments, perhaps we didn't have that frame of mind. So what do you say to somebody who's been in that spiral for so many years, or maybe perhaps decades, where they feel like they don't have that control and they feel like this is all happening to them and they're not worthy? I have somebody that I'm trying to help right now. He's not a client, but I'm trying to help him. But his attitude is constantly, look at what everybody's doing to me. Look at how everybody's coming after me. People don't really, I mean, it's almost like it's, I mean, I'm sure there's some psychological stuff in there, but he does not see the forest for the trees. So let's kind of break it down in simpler patterns and perhaps maybe share a little bit of your story, because I think that will display a fabulous picture of where you've been and where you are now. Because sometimes people will tell us, well, Chris, it's so easy for you. And I've had that so many times, like, well, it's easy for you. You're so positive. You're so energetic. I'm like, the fuck, I wasn't. Back then I wasn't. I was deep in a bottle of Jack Daniels, fucking mad and pissed off and angry and sarcastic and bitter, right? It took me a lot of reading. I've read hundreds, if not thousands of books by now, studied YouTube videos, studied successful people, had coaching, had therapy, had mental health, drugs. I've done all those different things to become the person that I am today. So it's that long journey. But talk to that person out there who's feeling like they're just desperate and they're frustrated and they're tired.
Reach out. Definitely reach out and realize who is there for you. I'm now starting to say to people, if you've got people in your life, choose 5 people. Don't care if you've got 30 positive people in your life or 100 negative. Choose 5 people, and you will truly see who's actually there for you. Because end of the day, and this has come to social media as well, is if you've put a post up and you get all these likes and all that, they don't give a shit. They don't. They want to know you, not what you are doing. They want to know you, the real you, not from what you were 5, 10, 15 years ago. They want to know you today. And if you have bounced back and grown from all that shit, because at the end of the day, this is your opportunity. Opportunities coming left, right, and center all the time at you. And if you ain't going to take that opportunity, someone else will.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. And so give us an opportunity. Give us a scene from your life where you didn't necessarily believe those words you just shared, because I know there's been a few of those in your life.
There is. My drinking days. Absolutely drinking days. And I'll pinpoint straight away as well. 18th of March, 2019. That was a day when I attempted suicide. And that will stay with me forever. Because does it haunt me? No. Does it bother me? No. I'm seeing that as an opportunity. And I see that as a lesson as well. Because at the end of the day, that is the successful failure. And I didn't fuck it up or anything like that. That is a successful failure, because that has given me the opportunity to say, you've been through shit. It's traumatic what you're going through. I'm sorry about that. In theory, no, I'm not sorry about that. Because at the end of the day, you're here now. Live it. Live life. Don't let life live you.
Mm-hmm. And I think I remember that because I think you and I were having some conversations over message during one of that point, yes, or another point where you were talking about taking your life. And I'm so glad that you didn't. What was it that got through to you to change that perspective? Because so many times we're so mired in the victimness of what it is, and we feel like we're not worthy, and we feel like nobody's going to miss us and nobody really cares. What was it that switched for you? Because at the point you had kids, I think you had a brand new baby at that point, or the baby was on the way. What was the big point of leverage for you to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this, and now I'm going to actually do the work to be able to be out there and be an advocate for people who might be in a similar situation as me?
Obviously, at that point, I only had 3 kids, because obviously our youngest didn't exist then, and obviously, I've lost a daughter to the system. Fair enough, that's another conversation. But obviously, that was a factor of me attempting suicide. But I was just sat on the sofa, playing on my phone, as you do, and the kids looked miserable. They were bored. It was sunny outside, and we were stuck inside. And I thought, you know what? What the hell are you doing, Adam? Seriously, what the hell are you doing with yourself? You've got a beautiful partner that loves you and cares for you. You've got two beautiful kids in that live with you. Fair enough, you've gone through shit and you've not got the other one, but you're here, you're living, you're breathing. You've got a roof over your head. You've got access to Wi-Fi. You got access to a warm shower whenever you want. Get a grip, and not. Obviously, I'm not saying man up or anything like that, because that could be a trigger to people. But you're here. Be grateful that. Learn that self-gratitude. You've got a mission to do. Get on with it. You've got a purpose here. Get on with it. Live it. Serve it. And make not just yourself happy, but make everyone else happy. And that's exactly what I did.
I love that. And it's so important. That last part you said is very, very keen. And I want people to key on that, because in life, we are taught from such a very early age. And a lot of what fucks us up happens between the ages of 0 and 5. And now I got on a whole bandwagon decades ago, and I was like, okay, when do we get screwed up? And I was pretty certain that it was when we were teenagers, like we're going from kids to being adults and our hormones, and that's kind of where we get all fucked up. And then I started doing some research on child psychology and realized that the conditioning process for which we create our beliefs and which create our actions happens between 0 and 5. And a lot of times you think about it, don't be selfish, don't be stingy, make mom happy, make dad happy, make your grandma happy, make your teacher happy, make everybody else happy. But we don't make ourselves happy. We think that by making everybody else happy and getting that approval, that we're going to internally be happy, because we're going to have that approval, and we're going to have that acceptance, which is something we all crave for when we're babies, right? We need that attention. We need that love. That's where ADHD comes into the fact. I thought it was a neurological disorder. It's an attention disorder. It's the fact that we don't get enough attention. So what we have to do is create ourselves a busy mind for us to feel safe and to feel secure. And so to your point, so oftentimes we're making everybody else happy that we don't make ourselves happy. And that's one thing that I really teach people is emphatically, you gotta, like, who's the number one person in your life? Oh, my husband, my kids, my mom, my whatever it is. Very, very seldomly do I hear somebody sit there and say, me, I'm the most important person in my life. Because what is that I come back to? People say, oh, you're being selfish, right? As being little kids, stop being selfish, stop being selfish, stop being selfish. During COVID, I gave out like over 200 coaching sessions, just my way of giving back while people were stuck at home. And I heard this little whisper in my ear that said, hey, Chris, ask them, do they love themselves? Yes or no? And I've been listening to this whisper now for about 5-10 years. One of my friends, a dear friend of mine, said, listen to the whisper. And I didn't understand what he was saying, but he goes, sometimes you feel like you're going to go straight, and then something says to turn right, and you turn right, and you find out that you avoided an accident or whatever it might be. So I really started keying into that, and I was on a Zoom call just like this, and I heard the whisper, and in my head, I'm thinking, that's fucking ridiculous. Of course, people love themselves. They may not like themselves, but of course they love themselves. But I heard the whisper again, and I said, okay, Adam, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a yes or no question. I don't want you to think too much about it. Do you love yourself? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And then people stopped when people thought. And I found out about 70, I didn't take the exact numbers, but about 75, 80%, if not more, struggle with loving themselves. Like, yeah, I think I do, for the most part. And I'm like, okay, you have an expectation of giving all this love and this support to everybody else out there in the world, but you're not loving yourself. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if you love yourself a 4, but yet you love your kid a 10, are you really giving your kid a 10, or are you giving them a 4? And so when I started making that realization to people, they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, what would life be like for your kid if you were operating at an 8, 9, or a 10? Like, you were fucking feeling pretty awesome about yourself. How much different would your interaction be with your kids? How much different would your kids grow up? What kind of decisions would you make from an 8, 9, or a 10 scale rather than from a 4 scale? And that was like a big breakthrough through people to realize that it's not being selfish. It's that self-care. It's that self-love that so oftentimes we forget about. In your journey, what was that like for you? Because I know you personally. When did that start to shift for you to have that self-love and that self-care, and to get rid of the guilt and the shame of what you went through in your childhood?
I would say a month after I stopped drinking. February this year. That's when I stopped and started to love myself. February this year. Because when I was drinking, I wasn't the person I was supposed to have been. The character defects, I thought it was good behaviour. I thought it was normal behaviour and loving, but it wasn't. It was aggressive, it was abusive, and I did all the wrong stuff. to the point I abandoned everything I loved. Even myself. I abandoned myself. I abandoned my partner. I abandoned my kids. All to go and fixate on drinking. I've been with my partner now on and off for coming up to 16 years.
Congratulations.
And it's not been easy. It's not been easy. And I say about 11 of those years, my partner was alcohol, not her. Not her. She knows that. She knows. And that was down to our influences, yeah. But influence didn't force me to start drinking. I did that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about taking accountability. And going off that, I'm actually doing therapy. And
Good.
to be honest, it's severe CBT I'm doing. And for this one, I'm actually giving it
Explain what that is for people who don't know what that is. I know what that is, but
it's cognitive behavioral therapy that basically it works on helping you shift your moods, helps you with trauma, helps you with relationships, help you with sleep if you're struggling with that. And we're now into session 4, and we're working on my emotions at the minute. My motivation and passion, well, pleasure, shall I say, in actually doing things. Because I never had any. I'd rather just sit on my ass and play on my phone and let Kerry do absolutely everything. That's how I used to be. I thought no, I can't do that. Can't do that. So yeah, it's all about shifting that mindset and say, enough's enough, Adam. Get off your ass and do something for her. Treat her. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Good, man. I'm proud of you. And that's one thing I can say about your journey, Adam, is I've known you now for probably about 3 or 4 years, I'm guessing. Yes. I don't know, time is flying pretty fast. But one thing I respect and admire about you is you're always coming to the party ready to do something, ready to take that next level. And one of the things that is the biggest requirement and all that is that honesty with self. That honesty to sit there and say, I'm not happy. I'm not the person I enjoy being. I'm not being a great dad. I'm not being a great partner. I'm not happy with myself. Although the drinking can subside those emotions for a little bit, I'm realizing that what I'm doing on the final outcome of that is I'm hurting my family and I'm hurting myself, and I'm not getting anywhere to the point where I want to end my life. And so I applaud you, because it really does, for you guys out there listening, it takes that imperfect action. It takes that desirability to sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this until I figure it the fuck out. And I've been telling people that all the time lately. I'm like, figure it the fuck out. There's a great book out there. If you guys are readers, Marie Forleo, she wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And in that book, it talks about the number one thing that we all need to be doing is being resourceful. Right. You know, when we think about what it is that we're doing in our life, there's so many resources nowadays, but people just don't do it. I talk to people all the time and I'll say, like, okay, what's your biggest problem? Like, oh, my finances. I'm like, okay, give me an example of what actions you've taken in the last 6 months to fix your finances. First thing I usually hear is, well, I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, great. Do you know there's a thing out there called Google? Do you know there's a thing out there called YouTube? Do you know there's a thing out there called ChatGPT? Have you gone out and typed in Google, how to fix my finances? I'm broke. How to repair my credit score? Whatever it might be. Have you done that? But I just don't understand what they say. Okay. Have you taken what they said and then put that into Google to try to dig deeper? Have you committed yourself to finding out the solutions? Have you sought out, like you said, the experts in those areas? Well, I'm just afraid. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm like, okay, how's that working out for you? And I believe that the questions we ask ourselves are the key to what it is that we can start to do to make that difference in our life. And I want to go back to what you said earlier, because it's very important. You said the 5 people. And Stephen Covey says in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a phenomenal book. He says to take a look at the 5 people you're around the most. And for me, I have people write it down on a piece of paper, a simple piece of paper. You write down a line, you go positive, negative, and you write down, okay, I'm with my wife, I'm with my best friend, I'm with my coworker. Okay, are those people constructive or destructive? Are they positive or negative? And if they're negative, they're not saying, hey, Adam, you're a fucking alcoholic. You need to go to therapy. I want to be there for you, bro. I'll go to a meeting with you. Or if people are sitting there saying, oh, you're a piece of shit, you're an asshole, what we need to do is we need to find those 5 people that are going to have our back. And sometimes that means letting go of people who we love and who we cherish, but just aren't the right mix for who we are becoming. They're okay to be our drinking buddy. They're okay to be our party buddy, whatever it might be. Talk to us about that. What was that process like for you to be able to, because to transition from Adam is who you were to Adam is who you are now, I'm sure involved having to let people go. What was that process like for you?
When I was drinking, I'm going to be blunt, I was an asshole. I absolutely was an asshole.
Well, you're English. I mean, you're British, so I mean that's part of it.
Oh, yeah. I think we all got a bit of an asshole in us anyway. But I didn't give a shit. I really didn't give a shit about anyone or anything. I was just out to hurt people, and that was it. But now I've stopped. I thought, you know what? Change your character defects. Take accountability and stop blaming the blame game on people, because that's exactly what I was doing. Blaming the blame game. And obviously, and it stuck with me as well, what Alan Stevens from Australia said. The strategy where it's if you're pointing at someone, fair enough, one's at them, but 4's pointing back straight at you. And nobody notices that. So it's time to own up to our actions and say, yeah, fair enough. They may have pissed you off, but what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hold grudges, hold that resentment, which obviously resentment is the biggest cause for relapse in the first place? Or are you going to move on? Fair enough, identify the problem. Are you going to keep holding that against them? Or are you going to actually grow up, work together to find a fucking solution?
Amen. I love that. So when you're speaking about resentment, which I think is masterful in this conversation, who have you resented in your life, and how are you able to process that? How are you able to process and find forgiveness and empathy? Because I believe that is one of the key factors in success and happiness and finding true inner peace, which is something I've been on a mission to find my entire life. And I'm fortunate. I think in the last 5 to 10 years, I have found the biggest chunk of it I've ever had in my life. And I think, and I don't even think I know that being able to shift my perspective about who I resented, who I was bitter with, who I had animosity towards, any word you want to use, and I able to find empathy and forgiveness for that person was the biggest opportunity for me to find that inner peace. So what was that for you, and how do we walk people through that process?
Oh, you had to go there, Chris, didn't you? You had to go there. No, I'm glad you did.
You know me.
I do know you. No, the resentment, one person straight away, my mother. Yeah. I had total resentment towards her because she's the one that got me drinking in the first place at age 11. And I held so much resentment towards her, so much hate, to a point I didn't talk to her for 6 years. Completely blanked her. And obviously, when Kerry obviously told me a couple of years ago she was diagnosed with cancer, straight
your
away,
partner, right? For everybody listening, your wife, your partner.
Yeah. Straight away, the words that came across was, I don't care. That's exactly what I said. I don't care.
Wow.
To me, and this was me showing that resentment. I said, I don't care. She's already dead to me. That's exactly what I said. But then Kerry was basically saying, so why don't you just make amends and all that? I'm like, no, I don't want to. And then when obviously I went to court for something, because that's another conversation. Me versus a narcissist anyway. And I was in Asda and obviously just picking up a few bits, and I see my mum. She came up to me. Obviously, I was listening to music, so I had the earbuds in. She went, hi, Adam. I went, hi. And she went, are you okay? I went, I'm fine. So she came to me and hugged me. And because I still held this resentment towards her, I pushed her away. In the store. Obviously, just calmly, just pushed her away. And I just walked off. And then a few months later, I thought, you know what? It's time to make amends. Going through the 12 steps of recovery. It's time to make amends. So I arranged to meet her. I got hold of her number. Invited her for a cuppa, which I did. And which obviously was in the pub anyway. Which obviously was fine. It was fine, no problem. And I made amends. I was all apologetic towards her. And we speak. Obviously not as much as usual. I've got the number. I was asking how her Christmas was just yesterday. She responded and everything's good.
And so what did that bring for you in your life to be able to shift that perspective and that relationship with your mother? Not to be like, Mrs. Cunningham or any of the famous moms that are on television, which I often refer to, but what has that done for your inner peace to find that bridge to make amends on that animosity that you had towards her?
People would normally say justice. I'd say closure.
Say that again. You broke up.
People would normally say justice. They would have got justice for that. I'm not. I'm going to say peace and closure.
Peace and closure.
Peace and closure. On that chapter anyway, because that's closed that book of all the toxic person I once was. And now it's time to be that person who I should have been a very long time ago. And that was peace, loving, positive, honest, and doing what's best for not just everybody else, but for myself as well.
Gotcha. And so how long have you been sober now? When's the last time you took a drink?
I need to just check that. Hang on. 162 days, which is 5 months and 9 days ago.
Yeah, because you quit a while back, but you had a stumble. Talk to us about that stumble.
Yeah. Obviously, my original idea was to basically do 100 days of no alcohol. And that was January this year. Well, my last drink was 31st of December 2023. So basically 12 months ago. And
from this date, right? This is airing on the 31st of December.
Yeah. So basically a year ago. And obviously, I got a couple of weeks into it, and I thought, you know what? No, I don't want to do the 100 days. I want to just drink on special occasions, so birthdays and Christmases. And then when I was in the supermarket, I looked at alcohol, and all I could picture was what my mum did to me growing up, influenced me with ice alcohol, and all of that. So obviously I got to 203 days, and which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I was going to Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a brilliant group. Obviously it may not work for everybody else, but it worked for me. And obviously me and Kerry had a bit of a slip up. We basically pissed each other off, triggered each other. She went out, brought alcohol home. Obviously, she probably wasn't thinking at the time, which, okay, fair enough, forgivable. And we both said some bad stuff to each other, and I just picked up the drink and started drinking.
Can you say that again? You were breaking up. I didn't hear that last part. You froze.
Basically,
so she went out, got alcohol. She went out, got alcohol.
Brought it home. We said some bad stuff to each other, and I just picked it up and drank.
And what was the result of that?
Honestly,
no, lie to me.
Nothing. Basically nothing. Because
nothing? No result?
No result. Because end of the day, I wanted more. I wanted more alcohol. And I know an alcoholic will do anything and everything to get alcohol into his system, even more than usual. And I was actually willing to do absolutely everything. I had money in my pocket. But Kerry basically stated, I had my coat, I had my shoes on, I had money on me, and I was going to go shop and get some more. And she basically said, if you leave this house, do not bother coming back. That's exactly what she
Lay
said.
down the law.
She laid down the freaking law. She really did. So I literally took my coat off, took my shoes off, still had the money on me, and I went upstairs. And all I did from literally that moment to the next morning, which I didn't even sleep, by the way, I just cried. I absolutely cried.
Good.
I just cried. And I started beating myself up about it. I was talking to other alcoholics as well. And they're basically saying, it's okay, Adam. They were reassuring me that things like this happen. They went, it's okay. Just go again. Just get back on the sober train again. And that's exactly what I've done.
Wow, damn, that's crazy. You were breaking up a little bit there, so I hope people got the gist of that in what you were saying. In this conversation, I've mentioned a few times, it's the questions that we ask ourselves, right? And like I think about it in terms of, will I be happy with this choice or this decision tomorrow? That's like a big one for me. That's one I give to my coaching clients. Will I be happy with this choice or this decision tomorrow? I'm about to eat a big piece of cheese to cake when I could have a little bite. I'm not going to go to the gym because I don't feel like it. When I wake up tomorrow, am I going to be happy with this decision? Because if we put the context of what the result is going to be from our action, and we can put it in our context now, then chances are we can make a better decision or a better choice. I've got questions for days. What are some of your favorite questions that you invite yourself to say or to ask yourself, or that you have other people say? Like if somebody comes to you and says, Adam, I don't know what to do. Are there certain questions that you suggest to people for them to get their thinking wrapped around a different opportunity?
Yeah, there is. If they all don't know, like for example, if they've just broken up from a really long relationship, I always ask them, okay, who are you? Exactly, who are you? And do you love yourself? I always ask that as well. And I always ask them, so what is one thing that you did before you got into that relationship in the first place that you enjoyed that you don't do anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those
So what
are
other
just some
ones
of
do
the
you have?
things.
Pardon me while I go get my associate producer off the table.
No, it's basically just that. It's just getting them to identify who they are. It's to identify who they are. It's learning that identity again.
What were you saying? I had my cat that was driving me crazy playing with paper.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but it's getting people to learn that identity again, because I believe that when you're in a relationship, you sort of lose that identity a bit because your partner becomes a part of you. So then you forget that you are you.
Right.
And obviously when you're just breaking up, you have to find that other piece of you again. Is it hard? Yes. Is it good that it's hard and challenging? Yeah, it is. And people may disagree with me and question, well, how can it be easy? Because it is. It is if you let it be easy. But if it's hard, good. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Always have that belief. And there's always meanings in these words. Say, for example, if someone struggles with depression, take the word depression. It means deep rest. If you take the letters of depression, you really get I pressed on. Or if you're struggling, just look in the mirror. When do people actually look in the mirror these days and say something positive about themselves? That's what people need to do. Look in the mirror.
It's very true. And I love what you said there, Adam, because, oftentimes we sit there and we predispose ourselves to that it's going to be hard. I mean, I hear people all the time, but Chris, it's going to be hard. I was just helping somebody deal with the death of their mother-in-law, just helping somebody deal with the potential of going through a divorce. I was helping somebody else think about a career change, and all of them were saying, oh my God, it's going to suck and it's going to be so hard. I almost just rather just settle and stay here rather than go through that experience. And I'm like, yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. And it's taking you 10, 15, 20 years, however long it is to get to this spot. Might you allow yourself a year, 2 years, 3 years even to go through this journey, if you will, and be excited about the person and the version of who you are supposed to become. And then on the other side of that, look back on this and go, wow, it was so worth it. Because I can tell you this, Adam, one of the most common phrases I hear so many times when I catch up with my coaching clients 3, 4 years, 5 years later, 10 years later, whatever it might be, or somebody I've given some assistance to, even that weren't coaching clients, I inevitably hear, I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have ended my relationship sooner. I wish I would have gone to counseling sooner. I wish I would have stopped my drinking sooner. I wish I would have changed careers sooner. I wish I would have moved sooner. I wish I would have done this sooner. And so that sets up the opportunity for regret. And yeah, those things do suck. But through those things that suck, it's that opportunity for us to find that inner strength and to find that inner warrior within ourselves, as you have on your show, the Mental Health Warriors. And I invite people that are listening to this, and I say this a lot, so if you hear me repeat it, that's okay. There's an amazing documentary on YouTube, so it's free, no excuses. It's about 1 hour and 23 minutes. It's called The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, or the Joseph Campbell story, The Hero's Journey. And in that, it's a brilliant depiction of how life is and how we start off and then we go through these trials and tribulations and what happens. Like, we go back and we want to teach other people. We want to talk about it and inspire other people. We look at our favorite movies, whether it's Wizard of Oz, whether it's Star Wars, whatever it might be. Why is it that we're always rooting for that person to get through their alcoholism? Why is it we're always rooting for those people to get through their divorce? Because on the other side of that, we're going to see them happy. And we're going to know that all of that happened for a reason, happened for a purpose. I tell people all the time, and I ask them this question: when have you learned and grown the most? When things were easy or when things were challenging? Usually when things are challenging. I'm like, okay, have you had a deeper amount of respect or appreciation for that challenge on the other side of that? Because now you know not what to do in the next relationship. Now you know not what to do with the next job. Now you know not what to do when you're parenting your kid. And inevitably the answer is always yes. And I said, so here's what I'm going to invite you to do. Look at every opportunity and challenge that comes up with a sense of adventure, with a sense of excitement. How is it that instead of running away from this problem, I can actually stand tall, stand confident, and say, okay, bring it. What is it that I need to learn from this? How can I grow from this? Because I know on the other side of it, I'm going to have more wisdom. I'm going to have more opportunity to be a better father to my kids. I'm going to have a better opportunity to be a leader to my staff. I'm a better opportunity to control my finances, whatever it might be. And so I invite you guys listening to be able to shift that perspective, like Adam's saying, because he's sitting here today because he never stopped and he never gave up and he never gave himself any excuses. We're winding down right now, Adam. What would you say to people who are going into 2025 and, the world's got its challenges? I know a lot of people are feeling negative about the environment. I know younger kids are wondering if the world's even going to be here in 10 or 15 years because of the environment and global warming. You got China ramping up their armies. You got the new president here coming to the United States. What do you tell people to go into 2020? What are like 3 suggestions that you have for them, just aside from what we've already talked about? 3 suggestions for them to really make sure that 2025 is the best year ever for themselves.
I'm laughing because I don't have 3, Chris. I've only got 1. It's just
okay.
1. It's, if people are questioning what 2025 is going to look like, first of all, why are you focusing on 2025? We have still got today. We have still got tomorrow. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. There are going to be people on this planet that are not going to wake up tomorrow. They're not. So why are you focused on 2025? But if you want a real answer on that, or that is, do we live in a shit world? Yes. Do we live in a toxic world? Yes, of course we do. But the thing is, why are you, the real question is, why are you focusing on the toxicity and the negative shit world? Why are you not focusing on living life? Did you get any of that, Chris?
Yes, I did. Why are you not focusing on living life? Yeah, I just had a weird camera malfunction. That was weird.
I know. Why are people focusing on the negativity in the toxic world? Why? Turn your tellies
Keeps
off.
them safe and
Turn
certain.
the radio off. Get off the internet. Get outside. Go for a walk. Go and have a bit of family time. If it's pissing down, still go for a walk. Go and meditate, for goodness sake. Focus on living life. Like taking COVID, for example. I know we've all got our views on it, and I'm not going to share mine. But thing is, for the first 2 weeks, I was thinking, what the fuck's going on here? I think we all did.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's 2 words people kept saying: social distance.
Right.
The 2 biggest words I have so avoided. I avoid them because if I listened to them, the mental health warriors would not have been created. I would have not connected with everyone across the world, from Chris to from America to China to Australia. I wouldn't have connected with any of them. So I haven't social distanced. I've social connected.
Yeah.
So there you go. Live life, guys.
Amen, brother. Amen. I mean, we get one opportunity at this. And so oftentimes I find I've read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. That book is like a top 5 for me because in that book, I realized, and for people who are not familiar with the book, it's a hospice nurse who sits with people who are dying and hearing their stories and hearing their regrets. And the number one regret of the dying was the fact that they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live and didn't live the life they wanted to live. And so when you think about that, you know, there's that opportunity for us to take that action every day. And I love that you brought up the point that today is today. Today is the gift we get today. I recently had 2 people lose their mother-in-laws. I've lost a really great mentor friend of mine. I was posting about it on Facebook. You know, life is so short and we think we're going to be here tomorrow and every next day. But if we have a specific intention where we wake up and say, you know what, today I'm going to love myself. Today I'm going to make the world a better place for who I am and what I do. Today I'm going to go after my challenges and my opportunities, and I'm going to enjoy the moments. And that's the biggest thing for me is, am I enjoying my moment? Whether it's something that sucks or whether it's something that's beautiful, am I present and enjoying those moments? And as we stitch more of those together, chances are we reduce our stress, we reduce our anxiety, we create healthier opportunities for us to make better food choices and better dietary and exercise choices. And then we live a longer life. And I find that is such a critical component to living long, bountiful lives, is the key to our relationships, right? Is what you're talking about, is being able to connect with people. And so oftentimes we isolate ourselves because we don't want to be bothered. People piss me off. People bother me. People are stupid. But then they wonder why they're bitter and alone. And so that's where we have to reframe the perspective on ourselves, start loving ourselves a little bit better, reach out and connect, reach out and understand people on a deeper level rather than having them understand us, and then continue to make that a priority in our lives.
Absolutely.
I love you, brother, man. This has been an amazing conversation. We've been going for 47 minutes now. I know you got a couple of things to plug. Where can people get a hold of you and learn about your Mental Health Warrior show and what it is that you got going on that you're bringing value to people?
Obviously, the Mental Health Warriors did take a break because of the Christmas period, but we are back this Friday, the 3rd of January, 7 p.m. UK. Obviously, we are going to be talking about mindset this week, so it's brilliant. I'll give you the exact title for that. It's going to be How to Be Resilient Amidst Adversity. So we're going to be talking about that. And yeah, we're just going to keep going, and keep freaking kicking ass and try and get that 1,000 subscribers.
Cool. Where can people get a hold of that who are listening right now? YouTube.
Obviously, you can copy this link. That's not a problem. But people can't find it on YouTube, for example, for some reason. I don't know why. So I'm always telling them, if you go on YouTube, type in Warriors of Attraction, you'll find an episode and get subscribing.
Okay, you need to definitely fix that. That's my challenge for you. You need to definitely fix that. We have a link up on the screen that says youtube.com/at MHWARRIOR Mental Health Warriors TV. Yeah, you definitely got to get that fixed, brother. You got to make sure that that people can find you easily, otherwise they won't be able to find you. And then where else can they get a hold of you on Facebook?
We're on Facebook as well. We've got about 2,000 followers on that, which is fantastic. We are going to keep growing that. That's Chris's cat asking for something.
Never again allowed in the studio while I record.
Saying, come on, wrap up. But yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Let's just keep connecting.
Yep, they're on Facebook.com, the MH Warriors group. Make sure you check that out. And if you want, feel free to check in the notes of the show, and then we'll have those 2 links in there as well. Yeah, I normally let my cats in the studio, but today they're being very, very persnickety. So note to self on that. My brother, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your vulnerability, your transparency, and talking about addiction and talking about suicide and talking about life. I know without a fact that people are going to walk away from this conversation with a slightly different perspective about what it is that they can do in their life. And I just encourage you guys who are listening just to connect with Adam, connect with his show. Make sure you're filling your life up full of opportunities to shift your perspective and to learn from other people and to let go of that protection that you have around yourself, that you're not going to get hurt and you're not going to trust anybody, because when you let that down and you start to grow and you start to connect with people, it's pretty amazing what you can attract in your life. I am living proof of that. So my brother, I appreciate you. I'm going to set you backstage for a minute. Don't go anywhere so I can talk to you again after I end out the show.
Okay.
You rock, brother. I appreciate you. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show. We got deep on this. So if you walked into the conversation halfway through, I encourage you to go back and listen to it all the way at the beginning. And again, like I emphasized, take notes, take action items. What are the 3 things that you can take from this conversation and implement in your life in the next 7 days, right? Maybe I could start studying the Mental Health Warrior Project. Maybe I can get the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Maybe I can get the book, Everything is Figure Outable. Maybe I can get the other book that I talked about in this broadcast, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I will tell you this with absolutely 100% assurity. I would not be the person I am today, the confident, outspoken, funny, whatever it is, podcaster, motivational speaker, coach, without reading. And I constantly read. I have so many books in my office that I'm currently reading. I'm listening to books. I watch podcasts every single day. Pretty much I am filling my brain full of knowledge and things that I can apply in my own life and then come back and share that with you. So if you're not taking that responsibility, that accountability that Adam talked about, that word accountability, if you're not taking the accountability to spend your time wisely and learn for an hour every single day, 20 minutes every single day, that again compounds upon itself. And you start to see things differently. You start to do things differently. You start to feel better. You start to do better. And all of it is this positive cycle in your life that starts to happen. And then you start taking a look at the things you're tolerating. It's a big exercise that we do in my group coaching program. I have a group coaching program, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that is supremely affordable. We meet twice a month on Zoom. We have a private Facebook group page. You get an accountability partner. Again, supremely affordable. If you're not doing it, I don't understand why. You get to work with me at a super affordable price. So in that process, what we've done is we've looked at the things we tolerate. And so oftentimes we're tolerating things that we don't need to tolerate from ourselves and from other people and from inanimate objects. I'm learning how to say that word correctly. And you think about the things that you're tolerating, the things you're putting up with. Man, I put up with so much bullshit. What would it be like if you didn't tolerate half of that bullshit? What would it be like if you got that out of your life? What opportunities, what things could you do with that time? What things could you do with that energy if you were no longer tolerating the assholes in your life, or the negative self-talk that you were giving yourself, or the fact that the dishwasher constantly sticks, or the car doesn't start right away, or the lawnmower doesn't work? What would be different about your life? Again, this is compound interest for your confidence. And every single day, in every single way, you're doing that. I promise you, in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're going to look back on this and say to yourself and say to others, man, I wish I would have done it sooner. Man, I wish I would have worked with Chris sooner. Man, and I've had tons and tons of people tell me that. What is it going to be for you? Because eventually, if you're not there yet, you're going to reach a breaking point. You're going to reach rock bottom. And don't let yourself get to that point, because that's unfortunately where so many people make their changes, is when they've hit that rock bottom and they don't feel like there's anywhere else to go. Don't do that to yourself. Give yourself the gift of the opportunity to become that person for yourself, because as you do that, there is somebody else out there that you're going to help. And I had no idea when I got into all this self-improvement stuff to help myself. I did not realize that I would be the guy talking to you here on this podcast nearly 6 years later, or my previous radio show that I did for 5 years. I've been doing this for a long time. I did not realize I would be this person sharing this with you. That was never in the cards of the project, but because of my unique situation and my abilities, I have helped thousands and thousands of people unfuck themselves from their life and live a pretty kick-ass life. And I hear from them all the time and what they're doing in their life. So I encourage you to come back. Again, if you missed the top of the show, this show will be modifying a little bit in 2025. So I encourage you to send us an info or email at info@noexcusescoach.com or on social media. Let me know what it is that you'd love to see from the show. Would you like to see it shorter? Would you like to see it longer? Would you like to see more solo episodes? Would you like to see different guests, different topics? What questions do you want me to answer? This is your show that I do with you. And that's why we do this live video cast every single Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, California time. So you can join the conversation. We're doing this one pre-recorded. But normally we have questions, we have people popping up in the conversation because this is something we can do together and it's no charge. So it's my gift to you every single week in order for us to help change and make this world a better place. My ask of you is you go out there and you share the show, you let people know about it, and then you do something nice for yourself and you make this world a better place, because that's what really matters to me, is making this world a kick-ass place for our kids and our kids' kids. So with that, we'll see you here next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live. Be sure to check out the podcast, rawandunscripted.com. You can find it on Spotify, on Apple, on iHeart, on iTunes, on whatever it is that you get your podcasts. Go back, check it out. There's some amazing episodes, and we will see you here next time. Go out there and be kick-ass